What if the dream you outgrew was never failure? It was an invitation. And when the world told her it was too late, she built a club to prove otherwise. This is what happens when a woman stops asking for permission and starts writing their own second act.
Ever feel like life passed you by while you were being responsible? Like everyone else got a head start on success, on happiness or purpose, and now you're just trying not to fall asleep during your own life. Well, welcome to Too Late My Ass. This is the podcast for anyone who's ever thought it was too late. Too late to dream again, to build again, or begin again. So spoiler alert, it's not. I'm Faye Chappell, and I'm here to help you burn the rule book, rewrite the script, and become the main character in your next chapter. So whether you're 39, 49, 59, or 79, this isn't about getting your groove back. It's about finally giving yourself permission to freaking exist exactly as you are. So hit subscribe, tell that inner critic to take several seats, and let's make this your comeback era, because too late, my ass.
You know, some people chase dreams, others start a revolution. And today's guest kind of did both, right? She's a veterinarian who traded burnout for bravery. She co-founded the Veterinary Teaching Academy and then built the Rebel Club, a global space where people remember who the hell they actually are. She is living proof that reinvention is not a crisis, it's a calling. So please welcome the unapologetic, magnetic, and highly unstoppable Dr. Celia Waterhouse. Stop it, Faye. We're excited to have you here first on Too Late My Ass. Everyone knows you now as the founder, as a leader, the one who helps all people reinvent and learn some exciting new adventures. But what did before look like?
Oh, geez. There's a lot of befores.
Yes.
I know we're talking about Too Late My Ass.
Yeah.
It's my whole life has been one pivot after another. So, I started off in the corporate world, in real estate development, working for a big company, developing spas and resorts and hotels and things like that on the island of Oahu in Hawaii.
Right.
And there was some inkling that said I needed something that was more purposeful.
Okay.
That could serve more people. I've always been interested in the medical space. So I tried to get into medical school. And at that time, I was really into my dog and the outdoors. And so I ended up doing vet school. And that's a long story, but you pivot from a corporate job.
Yeah.
I was 30-something when I went to vet school.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. I graduated at age 38.
Wow.
And I did that for a while. And then later on, I pivoted again. And that's another long story. I don't know how long of these stories you want to get to.
We want to hear the dirt. Like, we don't want to hear like, oh, I did so great because everything worked out. So I just kept adding more to my,
Well, you do great. And then you don't do great because you're just not interested in it anymore.
Right.
And it's not high on your values that you want to pursue that one path. So then you start thinking, oh my God, I'm having a life crisis, right? Because I'm not living on purpose. I'm not living my mission that I thought I was going to live. And that's when you say, okay, what is it that's important to me right now?
Right.
And then you have to dial down and try to figure that out. Ask yourself a series of pertinent questions and do a lot of soul searching and be totally honest with yourself of what's important to you right now. Because values change all the time.
So what was the point where you just said, you were in between your phase, corporate, and you're in between that and going to vet school, right? So what was it that you said to yourself, I can't do this anymore, I got to change? Like, what was that aha moment? Because and it might have been a little one, there might have been an Oprah moment, we don't know, but what was it?
Well, it's interesting because you find yourself going to work and you drag yourself into work and then you're tired all the time and you're wondering, do I have enough vitamins? Am I not exercising enough? Am I not sleeping enough? All of that. And you're just tired all the time. Well, when you're really living on purpose again. When you're doing something you really love, you wake up early.
Right.
You want to do it. You're like, let's go. Let's go. Right. So I knew something was wrong. And then I went to a friend's house. She was having a house party, and there were a bunch of older age people going back to school to go to medical school. So I started asking them questions. What do you mean? You're in your 30s. You're going to go to medical school. Can you really do that?
Yeah.
And I got inspired by the conversations. And that's when I said, okay, this is what I want to do. Quit my job. The golden handcuffs, that's always hard to do. And I went back and did my pre-med stuff and then switched over to vet.
And were you scared about when you first went into the classroom? Were you or were you excited or were you scared?
Well, it's a little bit of both. I mean, you're terrified because you're like, what have I done?
Like I gave like everything.
Really? My parents are like, really? But I was excited. There were other older students that I kind of surrounded myself with, and we kind of stuck together as a group and so we were all in our 30s when we started medical school or pre-med. It was not even medical school, it was pre-med.
Right.
You didn't even know if you're going to get in. So I was terrified, but at the same time I felt empowered, I felt refreshed, I felt inspired, and I could see my whole future in front of me. So so you saw that, so a lot of people when they're like later, whether it's 30, 40, 50, 60, they're like, oh, it's too late. I won't have the time or the stamina or whatever it takes. So, but you actually said, no, I can do this. Yeah, it's never too late.
Right.
You could start. There was somebody going to vet school. I think she was in her 40s when she started. It's all a perception, a mindset.
Right.
To me, like I just had my 61st birthday, right?
Yeah.
And to me, it's not growing old. It's reaching that next level. Yeah. I always think of it like, like a game. And I've reached level 61. I'm going to reach level 100,
Yeah.
and it's really a goal.
Yeah.
But I want to I want to age and I want to grow and I want to reach that next level inspired. Always.
So what was the scariest part for you of saying, okay, I'm going to do this? Well, the truly like when nobody else was listening and you were just to yourself, what were you most scared of?
Ooh, that's a good question. Obviously finances.
Yeah.
But you can plan that, right? You can say, okay, if I stop working and I no longer have a regular income, you've got to make sure you take care of yourself, your finances and your bills and all of that first.
Yeah.
And that's just pen and paper and trying to figure out and make it work, right?
Yeah.
So once you do that, then for me, it was, what will people think, right?
Mm-hmm.
What will people think? And what I've learned as I've gotten wiser is that I'm really just sad.
Yeah. Who cares?
My life.
Yeah.
I'm not giving them authority over me and what my future is going to be about. So it's really, being Asian, you're always thinking about what people, what are they going to think,
Right.
Yeah.
So you did that and you became a vet?
I became a veterinarian.
And you did that for how long?
Oh, I did that one and I'm still a veterinarian.
I mean, but I practiced. That was your main.
I practiced, and this is where the long story, which I'll make very short, for full time in a clinic for about 5 or 6 years.
Right.
I ended up getting married late. And I can't remember. I was 40 years old when we got married. And then at that time, we said, okay, let's start having kids. Because, 40 is a little over the hill. And
it's hot. It's not too late.
But long story short, being a veterinarian is hard you're on your feet all day. You're lifting heavy dogs. The stress is incredible. You're working 14, 16-hour days.
Right.
You're not eating. You're not sleeping. You're exposed to x-rays constantly because you're in the room holding an animal, taking x-rays. You're exposed to anesthetic gases all day long when you're doing surgery. So I basically said, if I'm going to have a kid or try to have a kid, I better stop.
Right.
So I had to quit. It's not something I wanted to do. It was really hard because I worked so hard to get into vet school, to go through vet school, to become a veterinarian. But you say, well, okay, what's important? That's when your priorities take place, right? And you're like, okay, it's important that I, at this age in my life, at this time in my life, want to have kids. And so you make that decision.
Right.
And then from there, we tried for several years. And that's when you start doing the reevaluation of your life. What's important to you right now?
Right.
That's the important bit, is what's important to you right now, because values change constantly.
Yes.
And you constantly have to ask yourself, what is important to me today? And sometimes it changes next week. Sometimes it changes next year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, you feel like you're going through a life crisis, like I said earlier. But if you really listen, that's when you're like, okay, my intuition is telling me to pivot.
And so what did your intuition tell you to pivot to?
Oh, God. Well, what's interesting is, okay, so now I'm stuck at home, right? Yeah. And trying to relax. Just relax, right? Have balance about anything. Just it'll all happen, right? And then you start thinking, well, what is important? And I mean, if we want to go down, the fertility mind game,
right,
that plays with you, you say, what is it about parenthood or motherhood that is important to me? And, some people say it's growing this living being
right
in your body. That didn't really appeal to me. I was fine with getting a surrogate, because if that was the way we had to go, I was like, okay.
Yeah. Anyone who's had a kid doesn't care about that part anymore.
Was it, I want to nurture this baby, and take care of this little thing. And I was like, I'm not really a fan of babies,
You're like,
you have to be totally honest. And, it's sometimes hard to be honest because it sounds a bit.
And that's what this show's about. It's about being honest.
Being honest and being authentic to yourself, right?
Yeah.
What was important in the end was being able to, it was the young adults, the teens and young adults that I wanted to inspire and share my wisdom with.
Right.
And being able to have these intelligent, inspiring conversations with the young adults. So in the end, I mean, I do a lot with the the Colorado University system. I'm a trustee. I'm on the College of Music Advisory Board. I do a lot with these kids,
right,
the young adults.
Yeah.
And that is my way of parenting.
Right.
But I get to do it on a larger scale.
Yeah.
And when you think about parenting and nurturing, that has been what has driven me to all these other.
Right. Because you got to a place where you recognized, the reality is this is what you really want to do, as opposed to this is what I think I'm supposed to want to do.
Right.
Right. And that's the difference. And I think if you get to that realization, no matter what age you are, if you get to that realization, the world opens up to all your possibilities
in your lap. Once you are aligned with whatever your mission is, everything just falls. It's like they fall out of the sky, these opportunities, And so that is the most important thing, I guess, is just knowing exactly who you are today, right, and what's important to you today,
right,
and being totally truthful.
So you decided, I guess, you wanted to help others, which was great. And at the same time, using your background, you decided to not go back into a clinic, but to co-found the VTA Veterinary Teaching Academy,
right,
with your husband, who's also a vet.
Yep.
And what made you decide to like you could do this online instead of going into a clinic?
Well, having your clinic, you're basically married to the bricks and mortar, and you can't leave. You cannot.
Right.
And one of the things that I had to dive deep is what was important to me was the freedom of time,
right,
and spontaneity, freedom of travel. I wanted to be in control of that, at least. And if you're an entrepreneur and if you create that kind of a lifestyle, that's the lifestyle I wanted to create for myself. So having a bricks and mortar building, having to go in at 7 a.m. and come back at 10 at night, there's no freedom to that.
Right.
So we decided that, hey, we should do something online. We were exposed to a few digital marketers and were inspired by what they were doing, and they seemed to have a freedom of their time.
Yeah.
But what you don't realize is when you're an entrepreneur, hey, there's no freedom.
So, but like, it's nice to say so in the landing pages and ads that, hey, never work again.
Yeah. Well, we never turn up for
No.
So, yeah. So we were inspired by, I think there were a few top, the top, like Brendan Burchard, Brian Dice, all these digital marketers out there way back when where we were like, wow, we want to do that. We want to be on that first boat with digital marketing. And so we just started to think, what do we want to teach? What do we want to share with the world? And that's where we took it. And we're like, okay, let's give it a go.
Yeah.
Because what do we have to lose?
That's great. Right? That's great. So you're still doing it, obviously, but you were doing it. And so all of a sudden, you are a typical entrepreneur with shiny ball syndrome, and you decided, I just want to add something else to my repertoire. So you founded the Rebel Club. How did that come? First of all, tell everyone what it's about and where the hell did that come?
Oh my God. So the Rebel Club, and we are now doing also the Overland Van Club.
Correct.
The Rebel is a model that Winnebago makes. It's a Sprinter van, essentially an RV. It's got a shower, a bathroom, a kitchen, refrigerator, the whole bit.
Yeah.
And it was one of the first big manufacturers to create this model of a Sprinter van. And John and I, we moved to Colorado. We're thinking we're going to be those people. We're going to buy a tent. We're going to go hiking. We're going to enjoy the outdoors. And I remember we were putting together, we had an SUV and we put a tent in there and put the dogs in there and packed our food, the whole bit. And we said, okay, let's just go. And then it started raining. And then when we got to camp, there was a moose running loose and some strange people in the site next to us. And we're like, let's just go home.
Yeah.
So that's when we realized we needed something a little bit, we felt safer in a van. There's a few other stories which I won't get into, but in the end, we ended up getting this van.
Right.
But when we got the van, we thought, we have no friends to travel with, right?
Yes.
Because enough wants to travel in a van. That's our age. And so we're like, well, let's just start a club.
Yeah.
And so,
okay.
That's what we did.
So this is Ente. Is our buddy Ente?
Hey, baby. Hey, baby.
Celia tracks all dogs. So you just said, let's just start a club. Did you have a goal? Did you have a monetary goal, or was it just to meet people?
You can't go into something with a monetary goal. It just won't work. You have to have a purpose of why you want to do it. You can't just say, I want to make $1 gazillion. I'm going to start this club and I'm going to make this money. No, you have to say, I want to have an inspiring life. I want to lead an inspiring life. I want to meet inspiring people. I want to go to inspiring places. That's what drives you and that's what keeps you in it, because doing this, being an entrepreneur it's not easy.
No.
There's ups and downs and you have to be willing to go through anything.
Right.
To get there. And the money's not going to drive you.
Right. And so you started this in your 50s?
Let's see. I'm 61 now. It was 2021, something like that.
Right.
But we got the van in 2018. So, I was heading into my 60s for sure. And when we started.
What made you think, because that's kind of the theme of our podcast, that it was not too late?
Well, those words just don't exist. No. Everyone in our club is my age or older.
Right.
Right. So, and they want to travel to fun, interesting places, inspiring places, and meet fun people, like-minded people. So it's never too late. What's too late is if you wait and you're broken.
Right.
You've got some disease, you've got some, arthritis sets in.
Yeah.
That's too late.
Right.
You just have to do it. Just go.
And you weren't scared. It wasn't perfect, obviously.
Nothing's ever perfect. It's still not perfect.
No. So we have these conversations a lot that, you know, it's never perfect. You still launch because like you didn't really have a big funnel or anything to say, hey, I want to do this club.
Yeah.
You did it because you wanted to. And I find that fascinating. It's kind of like how I started this podcast is I just wanted to do something that I like to do.
Yeah.
As opposed to something that somebody thinks you should do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you've been to a lot of adventures with the club.
Yep.
Where have you gone with Betty's?
Well, we're still on our adventure.
Yep.
We are winding down our 8-week trip. It'll be 8 weeks this week.
Right.
We first went to Dallas for a working dog conference because we're still in the veterinary field.
Yes.
And creating veterinary programs and products. And then from Dallas, Colorado to Dallas. And then from Dallas, we drove to Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, had a rally over there.
Wow.
While we were doing the rally over there, I was coordinating training in Moab with my trainers and the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta. We had a group of 20-something vans go over there. So you're still working. You're still creating these inspiring trips that people they just loved. Both of them, the Moab and the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta turned out really well this year. They always do because and you can't go wrong with Moab and Balloon Fiesta. But so, yeah, Nova Scotia, we went to through Quebec, Quebec City, Montreal, and now Toronto.
Right. And then other trips you've been through Alaska,
Prudhoe Bay, all the way up to the Arctic, Yukon.
And when you thought about the club, did you ever envision all of this? Did you envision it to be as broad as you're doing it?
You know, when we started the club, we started it for selfish reasons like, where do we want to go? Let's just think big. Where do we want to go?
Right.
And let's bring some friends with us. So essentially, that's basically our thought. Like, we've always wanted to go to the Arctic in Prudhoe Bay, Alaska. We watched, it was the Croft family, the Expedition Overland on Amazon Prime. And we're like, wow, these guys are driving all the way up to the Arctic in Alaska. We want to do that.
Right.
So we're like, well, we found Wings and Wheels Alaska, who's a YouTube influencer that also have a similar van. They were taking a group of people. So we organized a group of people to go to their event, and then they guided this group all the way up to Prudhoe Bay. And then tuck to Yak Tak on the Canada side. And so we just thought, well, you just have to think big about what's possible and where do you want to go, and let's just organize it.
And so you find people. And it didn't matter, like you never think of your age or wherever you want to go. Like you just go, let's just go.
Oh yeah, just go.
Let's just go.
Just go. Just go.
So what do you think in everything you've started? Because you started a lot of businesses, right?
Yes.
When you, everything you've done, what really made that tweak, that change that made you, or maybe it was something you learned from your parents, I'm not sure, that made you never question continually pivoting or continually changing or adding something to the repertoire? What is it in your personality that allowed you to go, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do this?
I think, wow, that's a good question. I've never really thought about that. I was very fortunate to have the parents I have. They never said I couldn't do anything.
Right.
They said, be whatever you want to be. Of course, Asian parents, they said, be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, right? but really, they didn't care what I wanted to be as long as I was happy doing it, right? And they supported me 100% on anything I wanted to do. So, I mean, my father from the Philippines, mom's from Japan. Dad joined the U.S. Navy. And, here he was, this skinny Filipino guy joining the U.S. Navy, loved the U.S. Navy. And he worked his way up.
Right.
So he was always saying, you just put your nose to the grindstone, never give up. Change your paradigm. If you're pressed, if you don't think you could do it, just change the way you perceive it.
Right.
Change your paradigm, the way you see things, and just do it.
So I think that's a really great sentence you said, just change the way you see things.
Yeah.
And that's what you've been doing, right? Obviously just changing the way. So I guess going back to the initial part where you had to leave corporate, so what did you really have to burn to start again? What did you have to leave behind and never look at it again to enable you to move forward?
Well, yeah, obviously the regular paycheck.
There you go.
Right? The golden handcuffs, I called it. The regular paycheck. But what was interesting is once you figured out how to maneuver the financial part, when you quit a corporate job that is, high profile, it's interesting who your friends really are.
Right.
That one was big to me. I hung out. We were building 5-star luxury hotels,
right?
Golf courses, spas, the whole bit. People gravitate to that who like that kind of a image, right? But at the same time, living in Hawaii, I was also scuba diving and surfing and all of that. So I had those friends as well. Corporate friends, they were like, "Oh, we can't use you anymore,
right?
You're not valuable to me anymore." There were a few that stuck around, and I'm like, we're still friends today because those are your true friends, right? And then of course my diving friends and all that, they don't really care. They're just like, yeah, you want to go diving? Sure.
Yeah.
But I'd say leaving behind that image of who you were.
Right. And I think, at least from my side, I think that's the hardest part of that is recognizing that people were only your friends because of your title.
Exactly.
And then recognizing that, you didn't really fit into that crowd.
Yeah.
And so even though you technically burn that, it's actually a blessing because then you start finding out where you're really supposed to be, right? Which makes a lot of sense. So, I guess I would ask you, you've never thought that too late was something that came into your repertoire. Even today, is there anything that you say, I would have loved to do that, but it's too late now?
Too late has never entered my vocabulary.
That's great.
Never. Even when we started off talking about fertility issues. Yeah, too late. Biologically too late.
Yeah.
I've changed my paradigm, changed my perception of what that too late is, because now I'm nurturing and taking care of more young adults.
Right.
And my parents, they become my children.
Yeah.
And other people who rely on us to guide them and my client and nurture them. So once you realize, there's no too late. There is no too late. It's just a different form of children.
Right.
It's a different form of something.
And you're smarter now. So whatever you start now, you don't have that baggage of not knowing. You're actually, how to make more intelligent decisions and to actually make sure that you're not hurting your own self, physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever, in kind of chasing that dream, right? So what's on the horizon next? Because you seem to be liking to reinvent a lot.
Well, like I said, when you put it out there to the universe, it falls in your lap. Mm-hmm. So when you are aligned with what's important to you, again, today, opportunities just present themselves. Doors open, wide open. It's like being thrown at you. So we're looking into a veterinary and medical technology device, quantum canine, for working dogs and for the consumer market, for pet dogs and for improving. Yes, Ente, I know, right? I'm like,
so what happens when you have a vet and as your guest?
So basically improving the health of dogs globally.
Which is like, if you could look at yourself when you were just going to vet school, you would have never envisioned this life.
No. You go to vet school thinking I'm going to become a vet.
Yeah.
But really what vet school teaches you is a process.
Right.
And you use that process in anything you do, whether it's with an animal health program or not. So basically the bigger you think, the more people you serve, and the more people you touch, and the more animals' lives you save.
Right.
So, I mean, that's where we're at right now is okay, how can we affect how can we serve the most amount of people globally, you know?
So if there's somebody in a car right now listening to us, and they might be 50 or 60, they might have just retired, what advice would you give them? Maybe because they might be thinking, well, I'm done, I'm stuck, it's too late to do anything else. What advice or what strategy or what tactic would you say, no, this is what you can do instead?
Well, I would never tell anyone this is what you can do instead.
Right.
I would ask them, basically questions they should ask themselves to understand what's important to them today.
Right.
Because, people say, oh, yes, I'm just going to retire and go.
Yes, got the gold rod.
But what's statistically, and studies have shown, 21 months after, probably shouldn't say it, but the studies are out there.
Yeah.
21 months after you retire is when people, pass.
Yeah.
Because the adrenaline's no longer there, the purpose is no longer there, the stress is no longer there.
Yeah.
So you got to find a purpose. So when you retire, you're not really retiring. Go find the next thing.
Right.
Find it could be a volunteer thing. It doesn't have to be, something, a career.
Right.
So
that's great. It's really great advice because, you've proven, right? You're living proof that it's never too late to really pivot, to dream, to make noise, to change what you want to do. So I guess if you want more energy for our listeners, you should go to check out the Revel Club. First of all, we're going to link it in the show notes. Thanks to our producer, Stacey Maynard. And connect with Celia. How can they connect with you personally if they want to talk to you more?
Oh, well, you can go to therevelclub.com and contact us there, or the veterinaryteachingacademy.com and contact us in the contact us form.
Awesome. So thanks everyone for listening. I guess the moral of the story is stop waiting for the right time. There isn't one. There's only now. So balance, that's canceled. We talk about that. Permission is overrated. And too late? Well, too late my ass. Thanks again, Celia, for coming, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks for listening to Too Late My Ass. If this episode made you feel seen or heard or a little more ready to take your damn life back, then go ahead and hit that follow button. If you want to go deeper, grab your free comeback kit at toolatemyass.com and join the Act 2 Insiders list for weekly tools, community, and reminders that your story is far from over. Remember, you're not done. You're just getting started. Too Late My Ass, produced by the City Media Group.